Alright guys, so we're going to jump into the quadruped series here. So the quadruped position is when we're on all fours, and this position we want to try and draw as many connections and as many similarities as possible between the supine series, the sit-bone series, and the quadruped series and all that come after. Trying to find what are the common denominators between each of these, and so that way we can more easily adapt to these new positions when we can apply the same principles that we've learned throughout different positions. And mostly that's going to come down to our spinal position, what's going on at that core, what's going on with the sit bones, all those things, our breath. How does that translate? And then trying to then add layers to that depending on what position we're in. So the quadruped position, just to show you here, is we're going to start off. Now this is going to be different for everybody, right? And as you continue to play around with this, which I encourage you to do, play around with these positions, is figure out what works best for you. So once we start with the knees directly underneath the hips, the toes dug in, the hands are going to be about just beneath the eyes, so they're not underneath your shoulders, they're a little bit more in front of you, okay? And then they're outside of the shoulders, okay? From here, the first thing we want to do is try to find the sit bones and the core, trying to find our intra-abdominal pressure that we might find when we're doing the sit-bone series or even the supine series for active breathing. So we're going to first make sure you can find the sit bones. So like we would on our box, stick the sit bones up. Okay, trying to shorten my femur. Right. So what can I do to make this bone here smaller in space versus longer in space? So I'm going to try and make that as short as possible. All right, I can play around by leaning forward, feeling a lot there. I feel more or less when I go back. Once I feel like I got a sensation of that stretch in the back of my sit bones, again, think about similarly to when just before we transition to our sit to squat, that intense stretch in the back of the hips. All right, and then from there, we want to try and put the weight of our hand through the fingers and the knuckles, which we'll talk about a little bit more as we go deeper into this. So the fingers and the knuckles are bearing our weight. From there, we want to bend our elbows and send them east and west. So my right elbow is going towards you, the camera. My left elbow is going towards the wall. So they're kind of flaring out to the sides. The last thing I want to do here is try to feel like my chest is moving away from the floor. All right. So I like to say the hands are kind of like, and our chest bone in the middle, our sternum. They're kind of like magnets, right? Opposites attract, the same magnetic field. They resist each other. So I want to feel like these are the same. Just like you might try to put two magnets together that don't belong together. I want to feel like my hands and my chest are magnetized against each other while keeping my elbows soft. Right? So I don't want to get my chest up by straightening my arms. I want to keep my chest back by punching my shoulders forward, my elbows out, and then trying to get the chest away. From here, we do our active breathing to really try to just reinforce this position. Into the nose, quiet. Exhale through the mouth. Alright, so really trying to reinforce that. There's going to be a lot of tension going through the shoulder, the back of your shoulder, your serratus, so kind of like the armpit, the back side, because we're really trying to reach and get this shoulder off of our back. A lot of times that shoulder's pulled down and back. What if we did if we reached it off of the back and gave some distance? That's going to be loading your limb, your upper limb, specifically through the hand into the scap. And we want to try and train this. So we're getting the core and our sit bones, kind of that conduit, that kind of middle position that we might have in most positions, right, where we have intra-abdominal pressure. But now, rather than stress the lower half mostly with like a sit-bone series, now we're stressing the upper half. We're trying to put as much weight into the upper half as we can, try to load the limb, all right? So that's just a brief introduction to the quadruped position. We're going to be diving deeper into this with each successive video.